Did they make
No,
contact?
no. It's pretty close, but this is going to be a drag race.
Right Look there. At this.
Moves him to win it. Carl Edwards bump and dump and run.
Here comes Gordon right up to the bumper again.
You hear that wheel spin, Benny?
Yeah, I did hear that wheel spin.
The bump and run.
There it is.
Gordon underneath to the lead. 2 laps to go.
And Maine really turned around, made a Riley's cage up.
Welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael D.Y., joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Reilly and Eric Daytona Ron. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves a young Ryan Blaney type of weekend. He was the big winner up in Michigan for the FireKeepers Casino 400. And for the first season in Ryan Blaney's career, he won more than one race in a season. This is the first season he ever had 2 wins on the season. If you're liking this podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Let's spread it. Let's be like grassroots NASCAR back in the day, just spreading from word to word. Get people on the train, get them to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. It's available on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more. We're on all the apps. If you're listening to Audible right now, well, thank you for listening. But if you're listening to Audible books, you have a friend on Audible who likes books, tell them, hey, check out the Bump and Run podcast, because we're even on Audible. We're mixed in with all the great literature of the world in spoken word on Audible. I think that's absolutely insane to me. And it's absolutely free every Monday night. Tuesday morning, we're on YouTube, and you can see our beautiful faces. Shout out to all the friends of the show. Shout out to our buddy Justin, big friend of the show. He didn't have a great weekend with Alex Bowman like we predicted. Me and Eric thought Alex Bowman was going to get a win in Michigan, possibly. Unfortunately, I put him in my fantasy lineup. Didn't work out. I should have put Willie B in. How was your guys' weekend? How'd you guys finish in fantasy? Because I did. Me and Matt were battling all weekend long, though. Oh, follow us at bumpandrunpod.com and at bumpandrunpod on Twitter. But we're off the rails already today, boys.
I like that we're on Audible, that we're mixing with some of the great literature. It's like the Grapes of Wrath, the Bible, the Bump and Run podcast.
The Bump and Run podcast. Tell your friends. Tell your friends to check us out. If they're sick of reading depressing novels about vampires and wizards having relations with each other or naughty books. Is your mom listening to a naughty book? Tell her to listen to a clean podcast in the Bump and Run podcast.
Yeah, real clean.
Anyways, how was your weekend, boys? I spent yesterday with Eric. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. But how are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing okay. We unfortunately on my wife's side of the family had a death in the family, so we were in our hometown this weekend, just spending a lot of time with her family and everything. So we're getting over that and moving on, but it was okay, and I'm really looking forward. I did, between all the madness of that, I still got some time to catch the Xfinity. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll start with the truck race on Friday night because it was delayed for an hour, and I'll personally get into that later on. And then throughout Saturday, I was actually able to catch some of the Xfinity race, and then Sunday was a clear day for me. I was able to watch the entirety of that Michigan race. So looking forward to Daytona next week.
I can't wait for Daytona.
I think the entire NASCAR world is, and I think that's gonna brighten the mood around here.
Now, Eric, just a side tangent. Months ago, you said you were off super speedways. Are you excited for Daytona this weekend, or could you kind of?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm excited for Daytona, but not because it's a super speedway. I think because of the
cutoff race and everything.
Because it's a cutoff. But I will admit, back-to-back road courses, Michigan 2-miler to a super speedway. I'm kind of excited to see those cars go fast, and
Oh yeah.
That fine line when they're all next to each other there, the cutoff going, I can't wait to see those goosebumps on my arm. Ooh. When that green flag goes. It's going to be insane.
I can't wait. I can only Whitey, I can only imagine like your angst right now. Like how's your anxiety doing, buddy? Because
it wasn't bad.
Saturday's race is going to be the most important race of your young fandom.
It wasn't bad on Sunday. You texted me and you're like, man, you gotta be freaking out right now. And I was cool, calm, and collected. This was at the point where Austin Dillon was running about 4th or 3rd, maybe even 2nd at the time. I'm like, you want to know what? I'm okay. There's plenty of race left. I'm not too worried.
No,
And then,
no, he wasn't. He was sitting at my house on the couch.
yeah.
And I'll tell you what, he did not look like he is saying right now. He didn't say a word. He's sitting on the couch.
Well, I was trying to keep myself calm.
He's got, your phone, he's got the scanner pinned. It's almost.
Oh, yeah.
The scanner. He's like, oh, he was shitting his pants on Sunday.
I love it.
You want to know what, though? We haven't watched a race together in a while. That was important. That's how I am every week now. Just fucking scanner to the ear, listening. And then, like, you hear the wrecks happen on the scanner like 2 minutes before they happen on TV. You're like, oh no, what happened? So it wasn't terrible, though.
I apologize.
Although I started clapping when Austin Dillon got taken out. I was like, yeah, which is terrible because he's my teammate, anyways.
I apologize to all the listeners out there who don't know my dad and probably think it's weird that we just bring him up every week. But he's a huge NASCAR fan.
Yeah.
So it's why he gets brought up. And during the race, Whitey, I didn't tell you guys this. He had a sick burn for you. He texted me. He goes. Reddick has a vibration, which means Whitey has a vibration. LOL.
That's a really good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Eric? How was your weekend? Like you said, we spent the Sunday together. We were supposed to go see the Great Air Show at Pocono on Sunday. Unfortunately, the hurricane weather had a different story for us. They got canceled when we were on our way, which is kind of good for me because
were you guys really on your way?
Yeah.
I got to the parking lot, and as soon as we got to the parking lot, they updated on Facebook that it was canceled.
My God, that sucks.
And me and our buddy Luke and Jay and Brandon, we were about 2 exits away on the turnpike, and we just spun around and we went to a local food festival, a tomato festival, where the weather wasn't too bad. The weather was bad in the Poconos. It wasn't too bad where we were at all. But I'm kind of glad because I opened my bank account this morning and I did not have a lot of money. I had like $40 in my Venmo account. I was like, okay, I got $40 in my Venmo. That's for Pocono Air Show. I don't even have to worry about it. Like, that's side money. And I'm like, okay. And yeah, so it sucks we didn't get to see the air show. Hopefully they do it again next year and we get to go. But that's just how the weather goes. Mother Nature is undefeated, especially during hurricane season, even up all the way up north is Northeast Pennsylvania.
With the weather situation going to Pocono, it just felt like I was going to a NASCAR race. Mother
really
Nature
did.
Just, we can't catch a break up there. Luckily for the races, it was fine, but that sucked not being able to see the Thunderbirds.
Mm-hmm.
I normally get to see them in Daytona, but luckily I work right next to the airport, and on Wednesday and Thursday and even Friday, all the planes and everything were flying into the airport.
Yeah.
And some of the Thunderbirds and some of
they
the
do
other
some
older
practice
planes.
drills.
They do some practice drills.
Yeah,
so I was able to see
really
them
cool.
a little bit at work, which was cool. One of them, unfortunately, crashed on the runway.
Yeah, I got to give respect. One of the Geico Sky Typers passed away in a crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of real unfortunate. Apparently, they did a really nice tribute to him on Saturday for the air show because the air show was 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. We were going on Sunday, but yeah, just devastating news from there. You hate to see it, but it is one of the risks.
Other than that, I got bombed on Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
So Saturday was a little hangover day. Sunday, obviously, air show people came over to watch the race here, so that's the extent of the racing that I got to see was the race on Sunday. But I'll tell you what, it wasn't bad. I enjoyed the race. Yeah,
I agree.
I agree. Same page, man. I got bombed Friday night at the Tomato Festival in the beer tent, and then at our buddy Kevin's local bar, Douse's Suds and Grub. And I had a wicked hangover all day Saturday. I had to cut the grass in like 90-degree heat. I was dying. I was taking breaks. I was eating ice pops and stuff. And then Sunday, right back on the train with you guys at your house, and I got bombed again. And I didn't go to work today, but I was scheduled not to go to work today. I knew it was going to happen. All right, you guys want to jump into the news? Quick news today. We're recording a little late, so we're going to try to run through this stuff. Penske switched spotters earlier in the week between Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski. Don't know how well that worked out. We'll get to the Brad Keselowski drama a little later on in the show. NASCAR is in talks. Speaking of Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway, the trucks were there on Friday night. NASCAR is in talks to bring a cup race there. Currently, only the Truck Series goes there. What do you guys, real quick, what do you guys think about the Cup Series going to standalone tracks? Like they did it with Road America. That was traditionally a standalone Xfinity Series race. Now they're looking to go to Gateway. Do you want them to do that, or would you rather the standalone races stay and keep it special, like a special truck race or a special Xfinity Series race? Just real quick.
I want to see them specifically go to Iowa. I think that's a fun little track. It usually produces really good racing in the lower series. So
yeah,
that's my quick answer is like specifically Iowa. I would love to see the Cup guys go to.
Okay.
I think leave it alone. I like when there's standalone truck races. It makes it more intriguing for me to tune in, and it gives all eyes on that group of drivers in that series. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I'm the same page. I like the specialness of certain tracks for certain series. Although I did like Road America and the Cup Series, so maybe Xfinity could do a standalone somewhere else. I know they do Canadian Tire Motorsports Park up in Canada. So I don't know if that'll happen again next year. Of course, with the virus, so we got new stuff happening every day with the Delta variant and everything. So who knows what's going to happen in 2022? Hopefully we get things all buttoned up real soon. I'm getting real sick of all this stuff, to be honest with you. Emmett Smith, another big name, joining up with Jesse Iwuji to run an Xfinity Series car next year as a team owner. Jesse Iwuji. Am I saying that name wrong?
No, yes,
okay.
You are. It's Jesse Iwuji.
Iwuji.
You were close. Close enough.
I was close. I put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllables there a little bit. But yeah,
he's a service member.
He is. He's in the Navy.
Him. Yep.
He was like a D1 athlete. He's just an all around beast of a man.
I root for him. He's candidly has had little to no success in the truck series.
He's run but he always runs part time in the truck series along with his military duties and stuff like that. And he's never in the best equipment. And I think that's what's going to be the deciding factor, how much money they want to put into this team, how much money Emmett Smith wants to put into this team to be competitive in the Xfinity Series. But it will be a full-time effort. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Our buddy, Daytona Ron's driver, Eric Jones, re-signed with RPM over the weekend. What do you think about that? Are you happy with that move? Or would you like to have seen Eric Jones try to go somewhere else?
Not many places for him to go other than stay where he's at.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have to ride this out and hope that they actually get their freaking head out of their asses over there at Richard Petty Motorsports and put some money and put some emphasis on getting that team top notch again. Dude, I'm really skeptical of Richard Petty Motorsports. I've mentioned on this podcast before that I think he's just in it for the money and he's just coasting by, not really caring about So I think that maybe changing a little bit this year. Maybe he's hurting for a little bit of money. Maybe his name isn't getting him the money like it used to anymore.
Yeah.
Am curious to see how Eric will do in that 2022 new car.
I think that's going to be the big difference is that next gen car.
Yes, I think the next gen car is going to either propel people's careers in the sport, and it's going to unfortunately take some people's careers and drop them back down either to Xfinity. And my cousin Shredder, he actually asked me yesterday what my thought was on if Eric didn't, let's say after 2022, he doesn't sign again. No one wants him. Everyone's buttoned up.
Yeah.
He's like, do you mind him going back down to Xfinity? And I said, not at all.
Dude, that'd be awesome. Would you imagine EJ down in the Xfinity Series?
Because I become such a fan of the sport of NASCAR that I was able to appreciate this Cup Series, but I didn't watch any Xfinity because I didn't really have a dog in the fight. I watched almost every single one when Christopher Bell was down there and when Eric Jones was down there, but I didn't really have that dog in the fight this year in Xfinity, and I missed out on a lot of good racing.
Same.
So happy. I want to see him do well next year in that next gen car, and I think that's going to be the deciding factor. But I wouldn't be mad if he doesn't sign and drops down to Xfinity and wins.
Yeah.
A lot.
You know what? I would love to see Eric Jones in that number 2 car for RCR down the Xfinity Series. They haven't had a full-time driver in a while. RPM is right on the RCR campus. They're working with those guys every single day. Who knows? I would love to see that. I'd like to root for Eric Jones in the Xfinity Series in the number 2 Richard Childress ride. Who knows what will happen though? I'd like to see him in the Cup Series regardless, stay as long as possible because I think he's a super talent. He just got shuffled out.
Exactly. He has the talent, just like a lot of these guys. The situation just might not be right. I mean, it's happened to every driver that's driving right now. The Kyle Busch, the Brad Keselowski's, all of these guys, the Joey, they went through so many teams and different cars and different organizations through their careers going up. So
he's still only like 24, 25 years old too.
He's so
he's
young,
younger
man.
than Christopher Bell, you know?
Yeah.
So no, he's got plenty of time. Someone who we don't know how much time he has left in his career. I'm assuming a couple more years. Kevin Harvick clinched his way into the playoffs yesterday mathematically, because there was no new winner. So no worries for Kevin Harvick. Not sure how he's going to do when it comes to the playoffs. I don't know. We'll see what happens, what they could do over at Stewart-Haas, but I just thought that was of note. You guys want to jump into this week in NASCAR history, which doesn't actually take place in this week in history?
That's all right. Yeah, go ahead.
I found a really cool story. Since it doesn't take place this week, but it does have to do kind of with the big storyline from this week. RCR was the big storyline when it comes to the playoff cut line. Austin Dillon, Tyler Reddick battling each other to get into the playoffs. I found a cool story about Richard Childress and one country singer, superstar extraordinaire, Marty Robbins, who I don't know if you knew this. He was an NASCAR racer back in the day, part-time too. And he actually put his own life on the line to save Richard Childress's life. Let me paint the picture. All right. First, I want to give you a little history. Marty Robbins.
You never were a good painter.
I was not a good painter. I can't stay in the lines. Marty Robbins, iconic country singer and songwriter with hits like El Paso and Big Iron. If you've ever played the Fallout video games, you probably heard it. It was big in Breaking Bad. They played El Paso and Big Iron in Breaking Bad, I believe. Some current day exposure that Marty Robbins had, but he was making hits back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. He had a super long career, but not only was he an actor and a country singer, but he was a NASCAR driver. Between 1966 and 1982, Robbins would compete in 35 Cup Series races and record 6 top 10s. Not too shabby for a part-time racer. You know, like he wasn't a big budget guy, and he's a country singer at the same time. So he was really doing it for the love of the racing and performing pretty well. Never got a win, but still 6 top 10s, not too bad. The day was October 6th, 1974. We're 2 laps into the Charlotte 500 when Richard Childress and 3 other drivers wreck along the front stretch. Lap 2, right in the beginning of the race. Marty Robbins comes barreling off turn 4, not knowing what has just happened in front of him. Doing about 160 at the time. And Childress recalls, I looked down the track and saw Marty Robbins coming right at me. I knew if he hit me in the driver's side, I'd either be mangled badly or killed. In that same moment, Marty recalled to himself, the only thing I knew was there was people in those wrecked cars in front of me, and I couldn't hit one of them because they'd probably not walk away from it. Thinking about this stuff in a mere seconds coming off turn 4. With a split-second decision, Marty Robbins cut the wheel to the right and goes skidding off into the concrete wall of Charlotte Motor Speedway. Marty risked his own life. You have to remember, this is the 70s. They barely had lap belts.
No safer barriers.
They had no safer barriers, no Hans devices. They had open-faced helmets and bubble goggles. They didn't even have head supports. Their backs they had like half back seats. And he goes slamming into the wall at 160 miles per hour, directly into it. Marty risked his own life to save another. The crowd erupts as moments later, all the drivers escape and continue on their day. Robbins continued to race and make music until his death in 1982. He developed cardiovascular disease early on in life and passed after his third heart attack. He had 3 heart attacks and he survived, but he had surgery to repair his heart and it didn't take it. He died 6 days later in 1982. That would happen later on in the year. I believe it was December. He competed in a NASCAR race in Atlanta in 1982, the year that he died. Richard Childress hung up his racing helmet in 1981, focus on team ownership. A young up-and-comer named Dale Earnhardt. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he would go on to drive that Richard Childress number 3 car to, 70-some victories, 7 NASCAR championships with RCR. Right now, they are battling to get into the playoffs themselves with that iconic number 3 and the number 8, piloted by Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick, respectively. Who knows where we would be if Marty Robbins didn't put his own life on the line that day and crash into that wall instead of crashing into Richard Childress, who was stuck in the middle of the raceway at Charlotte. I thought that was a pretty interesting story.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. Dude, and you know what? It all wraps into that Jesse
Jesse
Iwuji. Jesse Iwuji.
Being athlete, service member, who does he remind you of? A little bit of Marty Robbins. A little bit of everything.
Marty Robbins was in the service early on. Right. That's where he wrote a lot of his songs.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, yeah. Who knows? Maybe someday Jesse Iwuji will put his own life on the line to save another race car drivers, and they'll both have greatness and success. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool story. Thought you guys would enjoy it. And I do love a little Marty Robbins and Big Iron.
Yeah.
All right, you guys want to jump into the race weekend, though. It was the night that the lights went down in Illinois, but Sheldon Creed was victorious in Gateway at Worldwide Technology Speedway. Matt, you said you watched a truck race. I didn't watch it, but I did hear about the controversy the next day with the lights going out.
I only watched. I got home after the viewing and everything. I don't know, whatever time it was, like 11 o'clock. And I just got on my phone for the first time all night, and I was scrolling through Twitter, and they were talking about like, oh, they're about to go back to green. I'm like, oh my God, this race started at like 9 o'clock. Usually, the truck races are only an hour and a half, if that, sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know what happened. I flipped it on when I got back to my parents' house, and I was shocked that they were on, but I watched a little bit. I guess that would have been like the second stage, or maybe even the beginning of the third stage. I didn't stay up for the whole thing, but I did catch a little bit of it.
Now, I thought it was interesting, though. One highlight from that race, Hailie Deegan got herself a top 10, the first female top 10 in the truck series, not at Daytona. So making strides there. I know she just re-signed to continue full-time in the truck series next season. But yeah, Sheldon Creed turning the tables down in Gateway, got himself a win. AJ Allmendinger, Xfinity Series winner on Saturday. He won last week in the Cup Series, this week in the Xfinity Series. We talk about Kyle Larson redemption story. What a redemption story for AJ Allmendinger. Years ago, guys wrote him off as being gone in the sport. He was suspended for some drug issues. I believe he was taking Adderall or something at the time, something that was on the banned list, and came back running part-time with Hog Racing as a road course ringer, if you will. Got a couple wins in a part-time season, come back full-time in the Xfinity Series, and then I think you got to give him a second shot in the Cup Series full-time. What do you guys think about that?
I think we hold off on that for now. I think he's doing what he needs to be doing. He's got 3 wins in the Xfinity Series this year, and we always say, that it sometimes it behooves guys to stay in the Xfinity Series, especially these second chance guys. Why not? AJ Allmendinger is one of those perfect examples of go do your thing, go have a resurgence in the Xfinity Series, do it for a few years, and then if the right opportunity opens up in the Cup Series, take it. But I like him where he's at, and he seems like he's having a lot of fun right now.
Oh yeah.
I agree with Matt. Stay relevant down there in the Xfinity Series. Your name is out there. You're winning races. I don't think there's any other better option than what he has right now in front of him. So stick to your guns and keep winning races down in the Xfinity, and he could have himself a very good career down there. He's not the youngest driver out there, so the longer you're down there, the chances you go into a Cup car and doing something very, very slim once you start getting older like that.
That's true. Maybe he'll just keep doing the road courses for the Cup Series on a part-time schedule.
I think definitely he'll do the road courses as far as Cup goes. He'll still get brought up by a team to do that, and he will have a legit shot. He always kind of does, but the circumstances of what happened when he won in the other week, like probably shouldn't have won that race.
That's true.
We won't get back into that one.
Yeah.
That is true, but he was running decently all day long, so you can't take that away from him. Win's a win, If Eric Almirola could win this season, it still counts. Another Ford driver, though, is the big winner this Sunday. Ryan Blaney. He only led once, but it was the most important lead. It was the last 8 laps of the race. We had 6 cautions for 29 laps. Your top 5 was Ryan Blaney, William Byron, Kyle Larson, Kurt Busch, and Denny Hamlin. What'd you guys think of the race? What was your race grades this week? We'll start with Eric first.
All right, my race grade's a B. I can't go any higher, can't go any lower. I liked what I saw. The beginning of the race was excellent, I thought. I thought there was a lot of, moving and shuffling around. I thought there was a lot of exciting close calls. They were racing very aggressive in the beginning of that race, and then it kind of hit a lull in the beginning of the race. There was a couple wacky cautions that kind of ruined people's strategy and threw people off of what they wanted to do for the day. Kind of had to recover from that. The end kind of saved it from going real downhill. And the end of that race was great. Obviously, with your playoff implications and Reddick and the Austin Dillon thing, and that caution upset a lot of drivers that were in that top 5. They were running real close to one another. The only problem that I have, and I'm not going to be one of those NASCAR fans that is just a package hater. I base off what do you see on the racetrack? They could go any package you want out there. If I saw what I saw was good racing, I don't care what package it was.
Yeah.
But
I think that's the way we got to think anymore,
It has to be. Yeah.
I noticed one thing, and it was once you that top 5 cars, you could get to somebody, you couldn't get around them though.
Yeah.
You just stalled out.
It was like that bubble in between the cars.
And Larson knew that at the end of that race because he stayed behind William Byron. He even said on his radio, he goes, "I'm not going to try and pass Willie, because I'm going to wear I'm just going to try to keep pushing him. I don't want to risk wrecking." And because I was kind of shocked that Larson, in the back of his mind, was thinking about the season-ending points championship. He had that in mind. He's like, do I race hard and aggressive here, risk taking out not only his teammate, himself, but losing that championship, that points championship?
And that's an extra 15 playoff points, right? It's either 10 or 15 playoff points on the line.
Yeah, it's 15. It's huge. And, he had that in his mind because he knew Denny wasn't too far behind him.
Yep.
Kurt Busch was running up there all day, had a great day.
Dennis.
And,
that's his real name.
Oh, I'm only referring, after last week when you brought it up, I'm only referring to
Dennis Hamlin. All right.
So I can't go any higher than a B. I got to give it a B. Overall, it was a good race to watch, especially having people over. It was an exciting race for sure.
Actually, did you know Denny Hamlin's first name was James? It's James Dennis Allen Hamlin.
I'm only calling him Dennis Hamlin from now on.
I'm going to call him Jack. Old Jack Hamlin.
Jim Hamlin.
All right, Matt, what was your race grade for this past weekend at Michigan?
Yeah, I gave it a B+. Like Eric said, despite the package being trash, I don't want to be a package guy either, and I'm not going to be.
Yeah.
I thought the race produced some really entertaining racing. There were times where, like Eric said, that top 5, you could throw a blanket over them. For a lot of the time, they were within 4 or 5 tenths of a second from each other for most of that race.
Yeah.
But then there was really a lot of passing. I mean, I thought there was more passing in the middle of the pack than there was up front. Also, speaking of, despite what Kyle Busch said coming on the radio and saying that everyone was going the same speed, there was a ton of mid pack passing, including Kyle, who, even though he said that, passed a million cars in that first stage. I thought that the third stage was fun. It had different fuel and tire strategies.
Yeah.
Which always makes things interesting, especially when the NBC guys are calling the race. We've talked about that ad nauseum in the past, that they're really good at those strategy races. And then, like I said, that battle with 5 to go after the final restart was an intense battle. It was about as intense as you'll see. It almost reminded me of it was Chicagoland a couple years ago between the two Kyles, where they both kind of almost wrecked each other, and then Kyle Busch ended up winning at the end there.
Yeah, that was a great ending.
I thought we had an opportunity to see something like that at the end. Obviously just the guys couldn't get up to Blaney's ass to do anything. But I thought it was overall an enjoyable race. It wasn't the best race of the year, but it definitely wasn't the worst race of the year. I thought, that B range, C plus, B plus range was about where it deserved to be.
Yeah. I myself gave it a C plus.
Yep.
I didn't really put much thought into it other than like, how did I feel watching the race? And like you guys said, it did have an exciting start. I thought after the first competition caution, that was where we saw some really interesting passing. Like Austin Dillon drove himself up from like 16th up into to like second place at one point. I'm like that was like, I couldn't even be mad at that. Like he had a rocket ship of a car on Sunday.
I thought something happened because of that. I remember turning to I go, wait a minute, did he drive up there?
Yeah. Oh,
or
yeah.
I didn't even realize
there was
that
some sort of strategy or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was such a lull in the middle, and like you said, Matt, there was some good battles in the mid pack, but you really didn't see them move up from the mid pack. You didn't see those guys really make a whole lot of position. Like it was racing for like 2 positions. It wasn't like big leaps and bounds. Besides Austin Dillon,
Yeah, it was one of those races where it was like it was kind of a dull in the middle of the race, but it wasn't one of those things where like I was nodding off. There was still stuff. Yeah, there was still stuff to talk about. There was enough storyline, I guess you can say, to keep the race going. But it was okay
because the cars were still close together. Yeah. There wasn't you're 15 seconds out. I think that made it a little bit better, but.
We were mainly watching like battles for second and third, which were good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read an interesting tweet though. Sorry, Whitey, okay. But like before I forget, like Matt was saying about the package and like how like the no passing. I read an interesting tweet where someone was saying like, oh, it was a rebuttal to I like off throttle time and the big disparity corner speed versus straightaway speeds. Mm-hmm. And someone back like, okay, like that puts it in the driver's hands. And I didn't think of this until I read it he goes, but isn't when you're in the car, because Kyle Busch, how he said, we're all going the same speed. And I understand what he means. Like it's just full throttle. You're going around and whatever setup's the best, you're just following the leader.
Yeah.
But this gentleman brought up a point that I never thought of. Isn't manipulating the air just as much a skill as throttle and brake time?
Ask Dale Earnhardt what he thinks about that.
Right.
Joey Logano is one of the best of them too.
Yeah, knowing where that bubble of air is, knowing how to take that air away from the car in front of you. If you can't go faster as far as your cars, if they're the same, what do? Manipulate the air. So I think the drivers that know how to manipulate the air are going to be a little better in those very, very high downforce package races because they know how to manipulate the air. And everyone said it. Michigan was kind of a dumbed down Daytona or Talladega, you know? So those drivers that run well at super speedways, you actually did see them run really well at Michigan yesterday.
Right? That's a really good point too. Maybe that's why Austin Dillon did so well. They set the car up like a super speedway car. What was the race? I'm trying to look it up real quick, but do you guys remember what race was it that Kyle Larson just couldn't pass Joey Logano? I think it was actually a Blaney win, but he manipulated that bubble where Larson would get to the back of Logano and he just couldn't pass him. because there was that bubble in between them and he just couldn't break that bubble. And people got really mad at Joey Logano for holding him up. I think it was Atlanta 1 where Ryan Blaney won and Joey Logano held up Kyle Larson in between.
Yeah. Okay. I remember what you're talking about now.
I don't know. Maybe it was Ryan Blaney. I don't know. All I know is I remember there was one race where people were complaining that Kyle Larson couldn't pass for the lead. And people were blaming
because Logano got in his way.
Yeah, but I don't know if it was that one or maybe he would catch Ryan Blaney, but the bubble would prevent him from leading.
Yeah.
Either way, people blame the package for it because
it was like hitting a wall. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Where like you'd get to about this far and then you couldn't push any further on the bumper. But
also,
also
they were like magnets. They were like explaining like magnets. Once you got up to that other car,
pushes away from each other.
Well, yeah.
But to my point, that week, I don't know if I made it on the show or not, but I remember thinking to myself, well, yeah, but the lead car also has to be flawless with its line, where if it makes one mistake, then you're catching different air and you're messing up that bubble. So just to block perfectly for how many laps, like that's impressive. And that takes skill, you know. And I feel like Joey Logano is one of those guys that could do that.
It's why you saw Blaney in those closing laps, you know, doing almost what like the Indy cars do at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is you'll see them doing the snake down like the straightaways to break that air.
Yeah, you want to
break
that
Blaney
draft.
doing it yesterday, and obviously it worked for him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, someone did mention one of the NASCAR personalities. It might have been on Race Hub. They did mention how, you know, Blaney, he won that race, and you know he only led those 8 laps, but to stay ahead for those 8 laps, he, like you said, Whitey, he had to be flawless, and he had one decision that he made was different. He doesn't win that race, you know. So like, it is crucial. Yes, the people behind Blaney are dealing with his dirty air, but at the same time, he has to know how to create that dirty air for the cars behind him so that they can't get to him. So
plus he has to deal with lap traffic and stuff like.
Well, that is one thing Logano really is good at, is being dirty.
That's true. That's very true. Although I'll get into it during the wreckers. But yeah, I thought it was good. The third stage was exciting. It really saved the race for me. And like you said, Matt, I agree. I enjoyed watching the different tire strategies, especially with guys taking lefts. Some guys were taking rights. Some guys took fuel only. I thought that was a really interesting part of the race. That was probably actually the highlight for me. You guys want to get into the checkers and wreckers? Start with Daytona last time.
Let's start with you. You just mentioned you.
Okay.
You just mentioned your records there. Let's get into it with you.
So my checkers is on NASCAR for calling that rain caution near the end. I hated it.
That'll save us some time because I've got the same checkers as you.
All right.
Go ahead.
I hated it for William Byron because just the the pit strategy that William Byron got with Larson, because Larson ran out of gas at one point and had to roll down, and that gave William Byron the lead and was gonna probably give him the win. Unfortunately, the yellow comes out because of rain, so it sucks for William Byron. I hated it for him. Our buddy Shrey. Side note, back in Pocono, me and our buddy Shrey, we went to the haulers and we both bought each other a shirt, and he got me a William Byron shirt. And on Friday night, we were talking about it. He's like, "Oh, you got to bring it up on the podcast." I was like, "Oh, I'll wear the Willie B shirt on his next win." And I was hoping it was going to be today. Unfortunately, the cards just didn't stack up, but I got to give props to NASCAR for calling that yellow, for all the criticism they've gotten this year when calling yellows and the weather and just bad calls. I'm glad they're finally erring on the side of caution and throwing the caution. Do they have to? I don't know. I feel like a lot of people were bitching about it, like they bitched about the road course yellow from Daytona on the second race of the season. But I'd rather have them make that call than have someone hit the wall because they didn't make the call. So I was really glad to see that. Could you imagine someone hitting the wall because NASCAR didn't throw a caution? People would lose their mind.
Wait a second. That did happen.
Oh yeah, it did last week or 2 weekends ago at New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And last year at Texas with Kevin Harvick pancaked the body. And then we sat at rain delay for 3 or 4 days. So,
and Michigan being a 2-mile, probably the 4th fastest racetrack that we go to.
Yeah.
Throw the cotton there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
My Wreckers, I know I'm a fanboy, and it's the big story right now. Tyler Reddick. After Austin Dillon wrecking out, he just needed to finish the race and keep himself clean, in my opinion, get himself in a good spot for Daytona. And he made bad moves. He admitted it today on SiriusXM NASCAR radio. If you go back and watch it, you could see that Kyle Busch is making a run, and Tyler Reddick was like, I got to make a run now too. And him and Logano kind of tried to make their move at the same time, put himself in a bad spot. And I have to give props to Logano for actually letting up for once. And I felt bad because Logano wrecked out because of it. Because Truex didn't give him any room at all. It was just a bad situation. I don't think Reddick should have put himself into it. And I felt really bad for Joey Logano wrecking out because of it. And then a couple laps later, he cut a tire because he hit his kind of teammate Daniel Suarez and got some body damage. And that's what that second tire issue was, where he spun out and went to pit road. I was just glad NASCAR didn't call a caution on that one too, and he ruined the Ryan Blaney win, because that would have been devastating too. So yeah, I gotta give the records to Tyler Reddick. Felt bad for William Byron, who was probably going to win that race before that caution came out too, with his pit strategy, getting ahead of Kyle Larson there, because it really was a Hendrick day all day long. What's that?
A win from me.
Oh yeah. I still beat you in the points though, because I picked
stole
Larson.
a win from me too. I was leading by a lot all race long until that rain
for our
caution.
fantasy and stuff too.
Yeah, I was dominating.
Well, it was me and you 1-2 all day long. I
still had
needed
an
a
overall
Hendrick
great
win.
points. I still jumped you, Whitey. I still had an overall great points day.
I do have a side wreckers, an honorable mention, if you will, and it's to one Amy Long on NASCAR.com, because I had William Byron in my lineup, and they had a video that said on NASCAR's website and on the app, it said, don't play William Byron. So I clicked on the video and I watched it. It was Alan Cavana and Amy Long.
I watch him every week.
Yeah, doing a little fancy preview. I never watched him. This was the first time I watched him. And Amy Long goes, William Byron really doesn't perform well at Michigan. I wouldn't play him. So I took him out of my lineup and I put Bowman in there. And Bowman did not perform well, and William Byron came in second. He would have got me a lot of fantasy points. I left them on the table. So really it's records to me, but also records to Amy Long. You got to know when those Hendrick cars are hot. This isn't the Michigan that we ran a couple years ago. This is Chevy power at Hendrick just dominating. So yeah, I was a little pissed about that and NASCAR fantasy. I know everyone really loves NASCAR fantasy talk. But what about you guys? What was your checkers and wreckers? We'll start with Matt. Matt, you said your checkers was the same.
We had the same checkers. Mine goes to NASCAR. You know, we can't talk out of both ends of our mouths. We have to give them props when they make the right call, just as much as we rip them when they make the wrong one. So I thought, like you said, that they erred on the side of caution yesterday instead of having another potentially embarrassing moment. So good for them on that one. And then my wreckers, it goes to you mentioned it briefly, was the power going out during the truck race and causing almost an hour red flag. I know
almost made that my wreckers too. I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, I know it wasn't necessarily NASCAR's fault, because I think it was a power outage in the area itself where the track is.
It was,
but I thought it was just ironic that at a racetrack called Worldwide Technology Raceway, they didn't have the technology to have backup generators or anything. Like, what's that all about?
Well, maybe they did, and they just forgot to fill them up with gasoline.
Yeah. I just thought it was super weird. As a matter of fact, Fox has dubbed this season, the best season ever, and I'm gonna dub it. I think it's with everything that's happened, the weirdest season ever. It's just been a super weird year. But overall, I thought it was a pretty clean week of NASCAR racing. So it was actually kind of hard for me to find it. I had to kind of take a shot at Worldwide Technology Raceway for losing power. I thought that was funny.
All right. How about you, Eric? What was your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
My checkers, and rarely comes out of my mouth, but my checkers goes to Brad Keselowski. For the way that he owned up for once in his life for once in his life, he owned up to something that he did on the racetrack and didn't try to push, the blame on anyone else.
Right away, too, in the car, he called it. Yeah.
Right away. So,
that he was genuinely sorry too.
Yeah.
But you could tell. And the way he said it was just like, oh no. Like,
he's like, oh man, whoa.
Brain head.
He did have a bit of a whiny moment there. Like his voice was very whiny when he said it. But like he was genuinely sorry.
Yeah.
Right. But like I remember back in the day, Kenseth having to fight him and tackle him in between haulers because he was being such an ass
and not
owning up. He wouldn't own up. Kenseth didn't want to deal with it. So to see Brad do that and own up to it, I did like to see that out of him. And I think that's him saying, hey, I'm not at Penske anymore. Penske probably would have wanted me to say, oh, Austin Dillon's it was all his fault. So good on Brad for that. My Wreckers goes to the one and only Mark Reilly.
Uh-oh.
No, man.
I ran into Mark Reilly at CBS, and he goes, oh, who you like this week? He goes, I like Harvick. And I go, what? I go, no way. With all those stats, like I said, those are all, like his guys, he hasn't done nothing all year. I don't know, man. Harvick, he had an ink. Harvick. I said, oh, really? I said, okay, I'll respect it. So then Sunday, I'm also wrecking Shredder because he's a Harvick fan. He goes, this race, something about this race, I had this feeling that he was going to run really well and maybe get his win. I'm like, I go, Matt's dad, Shrey. I said, screw it. I'll put him in my fantasy lineup. Harvick, maybe we could, universe, we're all thinking about him. Maybe something does happen. And I took him out and put him back in the garage about 20 laps into that race and never looked back. So I wasted a garage pick essentially on Kevin Harvick when I needed a good fantasy day, and a weird fantasy day it was, but
it was a real weird fantasy day
because of those two. Mark Reilly, let me down, buddy.
Well, Harvick got himself a top 15. He pulled off the 14th spot.
But
I shot myself in the
3 in a row at Michigan going into this race.
Yeah.
So a 15th place finish is awful.
Can I tell you what I did in fantasy? And I was going to bring it up to you guys in the moment too, and I didn't. And I wish I did, because I bet you would have steered me in the right direction. I had Reddick in my garage, and then Truex got some damage on the opening laps. I put Truex right in the garage, and then by the end of stage 2, I was looking. I'm like, well, they're running right next to each other. Should I just throw Truex back in? Will he finish better? I go, nah, I'm gonna ride out Reddick for my last play on Reddick, and I should have threw Martin Truex Jr. back in. I really should have. It would have saved my fantasy day.
See, that was like I had Truex in as well, and my big thing was at first in the beginning, I'm like, where is Bowman? What's Bowman doing? Because I liked Hendrick. Hendrick's been great all season. You can't go wrong with the Hendrick guy. So I'm like, okay, I had Willie B in because I had him winning the race on the podcast.
Yeah.
So, okay, Willie B. I'm like, you know what? Alex Bowman, those sneaky 3 wins coming here, throw him in there, But he was doing that. Truex had that issue. Now I'm like, I've got Harvick in. He wasn't running well. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? My fantasy day is ruined. And thankfully, I think I finished 4th or something like that in fantasy. But yeah, I thought Hendrick was gonna run away with it there.
I don't know where Matt went. If you're not watching on YouTube, Matt just dropped his headset and walked away as soon as I said Truex. So I'm not sure what happened there. I think he probably made the same play as I did. Because me and Matt were running 1 and 2 in fantasy all day long. And I think I finished in 10th place or something like that. But now Matt's leading me in the points in fantasy. All I could say about the rest of the race, I hope Matt comes back soon. I don't know where he went. Kurt Busch had himself one hell of a day at Michigan.
Great day.
His teammate, though, Ross Chastain, not so much. He lost an axle, and his crew chief will be ejected for Daytona. So that's not looking too good for Ross. Not sure what happened there. But Kurt Busch, top 5. Good for him. And he'll be starting in the top 10 at Daytona. We'll get into the preview in just a second. Well, first, that's all I really have for Michigan. You guys have anything else to add?
I had one really interesting stat that actually blew my mind. This is Blaney's first year with multiple wins in the Cup Series.
You listen to the intro of the show?
Whitey said that right in the beginning of the show.
That was literally one of the first things I said in this podcast this morning.
Ryan Blaney weekend, and it's his first season ever with multiple wins. Like,
yeah. I
thought I had the wet noodle. I thought I had the wet noodle. Not this week, baby.
Listen. You can ask my wife. I have selective hearing.
All right, well, go back and listen to the beginning. It'll be posted tonight around 10 o'clock at night.
I have one thing about Kurt Busch that you mentioned, Whitey.
Yeah.
I've been noticing his demeanor in his interviews lately.
Yeah.
How he seems like he's 23 years old for some reason.
He's feeling himself. He's got a lot of options out there.
Exactly. He is like, man, and I was counting him out. I'm like, Kurt Busch, he's getting older in the one car, I'm going there. Why would you take him if you want to start a new blah, blah, blah?
Mm-hmm.
His attitude is really changing my mind about what I said a few weeks ago when we're talking about who would go over to that other car for 2311 Racing. I'm like, why would you want to get an old Kurt Busch? But, man, his attitude.
He still pulls off a win every season. Yeah. He gets in the playoffs and he runs
he's
well.
He's a completely, literally, not even saying the cliche. Like, he is a completely different person than he was at the beginning of his career.
Absolutely.
I actually like him.
He's a completely different person than he was 10 years ago or 5 years ago. He's had a long career. He's been around since the early 2000s. So, definitely a complete 180. Can't wait until Kyle Busch finally makes that transition and becomes somewhat likable. But I don't know. We'll see if that ever happens. Here on the Bump and Run podcast, everyone likes to talk about the first place guy. But we like to talk about the last place guy. It was one Joey Gase. He caused the second caution of the day, wrecked out early in a Rick Ware racing car. And I thought it was funny. Steve Letarte on the broadcast is like, man, those bad day for Rick Ware. Like, they ever have good days. He goes, they're running out of cars over there. It just made me laugh.
Oh, Steve.
Hopefully Rick Ware leases out some of his charters. Maybe they'll do a 2-car operation, actually focus on running better than last place every weekend. But we can only hope. I still say, and even our buddy Jay, when we were watching the race, he says, what if they just wreck each other, like wreck on purpose to get TV time for the sponsor? Like I said it a while ago on the podcast. It's my tinfoil hat. I think they do it. I think they do. Because they get a nice little...
hood was light up.
Hood was up.
The hood was up. TV right on it.
Yep, got a nice little plug for whatever charity was on the hood of that car. I think they do. I honestly do. I'm not even trying to be a conspiracy theorist. We got one pick of lane. I think we could go into it real quick because we're finally along through on this podcast. NASCAR used a new resin to rubber in the track instead of PJ1. I heard an interview with Tyler Reddick today. He seemed to like it. He said it wasn't as slick, and he compared PJ1 to ice before it activates. He said it's slick as ice until it gets hot. This new resin seemed to pick up rubber throughout the weekend, and it holds rubber really well. As a fan, did you guys notice any difference between the PJ1 and the new resin? They used this resin down in Nashville on a concrete track, and it seemed to work well. This is the first time they used it on asphalt. Have you noticed the difference? Should we replace PJ1 with the resin at all the tracks we use PJ1 at?
I mean, I know, hindsight is 2020. I know it's easy to have a knee-jerk reaction after having a decent race yesterday.
Yeah.
But if I had to make a choice, I guess after what I saw yesterday, give me resin. It gave the track multiple grooves, which PJ1 does do too, but it didn't take nearly as long to, quote unquote, activate.
Yeah.
It also produced really good racing, and you didn't see guys sliding around. Like you said, it wasn't, that like driving on ice. So, I think we need a couple more opportunities to see this resin in action before I was ready and comfortable to make an actual decision. But I'm willing to at least give this resin another try.
How about you, Eric? Did you notice any difference?
I know we talked about it on Sunday when we were watching. We saw the big black, mark. We're like, oh, they're using PJ1 here. And we kind of were unsure at first. But I did notice that, like Matt said, the cars went up into it a lot earlier in the run. Like almost immediately, they were able to run in that resin, which I like because some of the drivers, their day's ruined when they get up there too high, and like
too early
they wait
for
for
slide.
Exactly. So like, why go back if this, if this holds rubber, if it's sticky, if it's not like ice, why go back to the PJ1? But my thing, and it's going way off as far as like the PJ1 or versus the resin.
Yeah.
We're going to a next gen car next year. How about we don't put anything down?
Well,
and we see how those new cars react to just a racing surface that we have.
100% agreed.
Don't use it. They tried using that to fix the packages, to fix the racing. Now you're changing the car to hopefully fix the racing.
Yeah.
How about you just see what the car does and
before
don't
you put
mess
it down.
with the PJ before you put it down? You know what I mean? I think we need a full season of nothing with this new car and then start messing around. But like,
I think that's fair. I think that's really fair, especially with the new car, because supposedly it's supposed to create more mechanical grip in the tires, which is what you want. The PJ1 is down there to create more grip because the cars aren't making enough mechanical grip. So the next gen car is supposed to fix that problem. The only thing, and I wonder if this is going to have an issue, PJ1, even after it's been exposed to the elements and all that stuff, it still gets stuck in the racetrack. I know the Indy cars had a big issue with it at Texas because there was still leftover PJ1 from last season that was stuck in the little cracks of the asphalt. I'm wondering if they're going to have to either do some sort of high pressure treatment to clean all that stuff out of those grooves, or if maybe just put a layer of resin down and it'll kind of negate where the PJ1 was. I'm not a chemist or a scientist or an engineer, so I don't have I don't have the answers to that. No, I have a degree in what do they call it? Electronic media at Kutztown University. They didn't call it broadcast communications, it was electronic media. I also have a minor in journalism, which is non-electronic media.
I'll tell you what, Whitey, that's a good point. I didn't think about that as far as what NASCAR didn't realize is that, hey, they might be ruining these racetracks by putting some of this experimental, resin, experimental PJ1. They didn't know if any of them were going to work or not.
Oh, yeah.
So like, okay, let's put this down, but possibly have to tear up and repave certain parts of these racetracks that you put it down, especially if it's affecting other series that go to certain races.
It was a huge problem in the IndyCar series when they went to Texas. And all they did was complain about NASCAR and PJ1. It was a big old disaster.
Yeah, my thing is you're going to a new car, you're trying to, with the packages.
Let's give us a clean slate.
Let's give us a clean slate of nothing, new car. Let's see what we have. And then, and I love that NASCAR does it, start tinkering from that point forward.
Sure, I can agree with that.
All right, I think we're all on about the same page. Let's get into next weekend. We're heading down to Daytona Beach, baby. I got my Daytona Beach, Florida t-shirt on in celebration. I got this bad boy for like $16 on Amazon. But we're heading to Daytona. Xfinity Series takes the track Friday night, 7:30 under the lights on NBCSN for the Wawa 250. And then primetime Saturday night, baby, 7 p.m. on NBC for the Coke Zero Sugar 400. I am looking forward to this race so much, and I am also so nervous about this race at the exact same point. I am super excited and terrified all at the same time, and I'm like a ball of an emotion. I already warned my girlfriend the dog is going to be scared on Saturday night. I'm going to be drinking and screaming at that TV. My only thing is, Eric, I wish you weren't going down to the damn show so we could be in the garage yelling together. Matt, I wish you could come up and we could all get buck wild on a Saturday night and watch that race. It's going to be
Whitey, those emotions. That's
one.
how I felt last year. I know we've talked about it before. I'm a huge Notre Dame fan. Last year when they were playing number 1 Clemson, the best team in the nation, I was so excited and so nervous. I couldn't sleep that week. I didn't know what to do with myself, and it worked out for me. Well, round 1, it worked out for me, and they ended up losing to them again later in the year. But for that regular season game, I was so excited, so nervous, and it worked out for me. So, Whitey, it's been a few weeks. I've been saying it all year. Look at me.
Don't even say it. You're a jinx.
Let's make eye contact.
Austin Dillon is going to win a race. Say it with me. Austin Dillon is going to win a race.
You don't want me to jinx him. I won't say it, but just be cautiously optimistic, buddy. I like your chances.
No, I know. He runs well at Daytona. At least he did in the Xfinity Series. He's ran 5 times in the Cup Series so far at the Daytona Oval. Not the best finishes, but he's always kind of in the mix on a super speedway. It's if guys are willing to work with him. I just need either him or another winner who's already won to win. I need a Denny Hamlin win or something like that. I don't a James Hamlin win. I need a Jimmy Hamlin win. But let's jump into the top 10 before you get into your stats. The top 10 for Daytona, according to Bob Pockrass' math, Kyle Larson starting on the pole. I don't know how many pole awards he's gotten this year, but he's killing it. William Byron in the 2nd position. Jimmy Hamlin going to be starting in 3rd. Kyle Busch in 4th. Chase Elliott in 5th. William Clyde Elliott in 5th. Ryan Blaney in 6th. Martin Truex Jr. in 7th. Kurt Busch in 8th. Matthew Benedetto starting in 9th, and Bradley Keselowski rounding out your top 10. Our picks going into Michigan. I won. I picked Kyle Larson. He got me some stage points. He got 51 points. William Byron got himself a 2nd place finish, but he only got, Eric, 43 points. He got him for the king. And Matt, you picked our buddy, friend of the show, Justin Pierce's favorite, Alex Bowman. And Justin, Matt jinxed you, and he got you 21 points in fantasy this past week.
It's the old Riley jinx this year.
The old Riley jinx. That's why, what are we saying, Matt? Austin Dillon's going to win Daytona.
Tyler Reddick is
Austin Dillon's going to win Daytona. So, in the standings, we'll give you a little quick update because, Eric, you wanted to know how close you were to me on Sunday. I have 861 points. Eric has 810 points, and Matt is he's in 3rd with 711 points. So he's getting himself a Slurpee in last. He came in last this past week. He gets to pick first, but first, the Statman, give us those Daytona stats.
You got it, buddy. All right. So the last 4 winners. So obviously, as we know, Daytona is like the ultimate unknown. You don't know what you're going to get out of it. I think my stats kind of prove that point. The last 4 winners, like I always do, I do the last 4 races that they ran at this track.
Are you doing summer only, or are you including the 500?
No, I'm doing the last 4 times they went to this track.
Okay.
So Justin Haley won a rain-shortened 2018 race.
That was on my birthday. Happy birthday to me. Austin Dillon was leading and wrecked out.
Yep. And then Dennis Hamlin won the 2020 Daytona 500.
Yep.
William Byron won the 2020 cutoff race last year, and then Michael McDowell won the Daytona 500 this year.
Rough race.
So there's 4 different winners right there. That's that just goes to show you how much of a wild card it is. Laps led over the last 4 races. One, Dennis Hamlin, 191 laps led. Joey Logano, 108 laps led. And then the next closest is Austin Dillon with 53 laps led. The average finish inside the top 10, this was an interesting stat. And also I think the one that proves my point the most as far as it being such a wild card race is there is only one full-time driver that has an average finish inside the top 10 out of the last 4 races at Daytona, and that is one Dennis Hamlin with an 8.8, and I'm so happy it is so I can call him Dennis. And then our favorite stat that I give out recently, the top 5 most points accumulated.
This is what I'm interested in.
Yeah, out of the last 4 races, and I think this is the one that really shows who's been good at the tracks. So again, Dennis Hamlin, 152 points accumulated out of the last 4 races. Chase Elliott, 126 points. Michael McDowell, 117 points. Bubba Wallace, 110 points. And then Logano and Harvick are both tied with 106 points. Those are your stats, boys.
All right, Matt. Well, you get to go first. Who are you going with?
I'm so far behind. I can say Quinn Houff, and it wouldn't matter. I'm not gonna do that. I like saying his name recently. I think he has as good a shot as anyone. He's probably our best plate racer currently in the sport. I'm going with Dennis Hamlin.
I called it a couple of weeks ago. Denny wins Daytona. I think that's a great pick. If I was going first, that's who I would pick. No doubt about it.
We've all said if he's going. I mean, I know he's locked into the playoffs, but
he's still going for the win.
He still doesn't have a win. You know that kills him.
He wants
he's an
those playoff
competitive
points.
Guy. He wants the playoff points. I think,
and he wants that regular season championship. Can he win the regular season championship if he wins Daytona? What's that points outlook right now?
I think if he can stay out of his own way, as far as he's known
by 25. Larson has him by 25 points.
Yes. Yeah. I think if Denny can stay out of his own way as far as speeding on pit road, and I think if he doesn't get caught up in a big one, I think Denny is going to be dominant on Saturday night. So that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, he can make up 28 points with stage points and a win.
Yep.
No problem.
Yep.
All right, Eric, who are you going with?
Austin Dillon in the number 3 to ruin Whitey's whole entire season.
That was actually going to
in victory lane, baby. And I'm taking it before you take him because I know you want to try to jinx it by you taking him, and I ain't going to let you, buddy.
Honestly, I wasn't even jinxing him. I was going to take him as an honest play. I think he's going to bring a great car to Daytona, and he's a smart super speedway racer. He just gets caught up in the big one though.
I know. I think he's going to be too aggressive.
I think maybe.
My gut, honest to God, what my gut wanted to do here? Matt DiBenedetto.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about him too.
Yeah.
See, I thought you would go back-to-back weeks with William Byron, and I was going to put Austin Dillon in.
I was going to go Willie B. I was going to go Eric Jones. Eric Jones somehow manages to escape these wrecks at Daytona. And he has a win at Daytona. So, he knows how to take care of his car on a big super speedway.
The problem is just the unknown of who's going to get wrecked out and when. There's a trend of 2 big ones anymore. It used to be you could survive the beginning and hope to be there at the end. Now you gotta survive the wreck in the beginning and then survive the wreck at the end to be there,
And just how crazy the end of the stages are too. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Eric, but just like the end of the stages are just so much fun that it can produce a big one as well.
And see, but that's what I'm worried about, Matt.
Yeah.
Are they going to be aggressive or are they all going to be conservative? And are they going to run single file most of this race, knowing it's a cutoff versus trying to get in? And
I don't know. I think they're going to be conservative in the beginning, and then stage 3 is just going to be a free for all.
I said to you guys earlier today in our group chat that I think the biggest reason why I'm so excited about Daytona is because there's realistically anybody can win a Daytona.
I mean, not anybody, but realistically anyone in the top 25, 30 can win.
Right.
Yeah.
There's
you're not going to get a Quinn Houff win.
There's a solid 12 guys that are not locked into the playoffs that have a legit chance at winning. You've got Reddick, Austin Dillon, Matty D, Buescher, Stenhouse, Chastain, Bubba Wallace, Briscoe, Eric Jones, Suarez, Newman, and then Cole Custer. I think any one of them, if they won on Saturday night, we wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
And it's going to be crazy because they're all trying to make it into the playoffs. I can't wait.
But then you have great super speedway racers. I mean, it is a wild card, but there is an art form with super speedway racing, and guys like Denny are really good at it. Michael McDowell is good at being there at the end. Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano are really good super speedway racers, as long as they don't get too aggressive.
So is Blaney.
Blaney.
So is Chase.
So, Eric, you're going with Austin Dillon, huh?
Yep.
I really don't know who I'm going to pick.
See, I knew it. That's why I was filibustering and running down. Down some stats there.
I think I'm going to pick Joey Logano. I think Logano is going to pull something off in Daytona. I think it's going to be a repeat winner. I think Reddick or Dillon's going to point their way in. I don't think it's going to be a new winner like we saw last year with William Byron. I think we're going to see a Speedway regular win. I wanted Denny. I was going to pick Austin Dillon. I'm going Joey Logano.
So I didn't know where I finished in the points this week. So I put down three names that I was going to pick, and it is all three names that we picked.
Just named. Yeah,
it was Dennis Hamlin, Austin Dillon, and Logano.
That just goes to show you how we're all on the same page with this stuff. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what your notes say.
Right. You literally have no idea what my notes say.
And I know I was hemming and hawing for a while there because I was trying to think of someone other than Joey Logano to pick. Because as soon as Eric said Austin Dillon, I'm like, gotta go Logano. I think he's gonna be a little bit more conservative this time around since his wreck at Talladega. I know they're running a bigger tapered spacer, so they're gonna be 40 horsepower less. And I think he's gonna be there at the end. He always is at Daytona. Look at the 500. I mean, he was there on the last lap till the wreck happened. And McDowell squeezed his way by. Ford's not the greatest this season, but they run damn well at super speedways. It's either going to be a Ford or Toyota, and I think it's going to be Joey Logano. I hope it's Joey Logano, to be honest with you.
I'll make one prediction.
What's up?
The 47 causes the first big one.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
It's not a bad prediction.
Not a bad prediction. A little cliche at this point. I think, let's do a little side bet. Who do you think is going to cause the first big one? I'm going to say that Matt DiBenedetto causes the big one.
Ooh, okay. Getting a little aggressive.
Yeah, a little too aggressive. Trying to find himself a ride for next year.
You're not going to like my answer, Whitey.
Tyler Reddick?
Just out of, not because he's a bad plate racer. I think he's a great plate racer. I just think he's going to be aggressive.
Yep.
And
that's what I'm afraid of.
That aggressiveness breeds wrecks at the I call them plate races, but at Daytona
spacers, yeah. It happened last year at the cutoff race. He caused the big one. He got into Kyle Busch, caused the stack up, and Ryan Newman's day was done. We'll see what happens. We're 25 races in. One more race till the playoffs, baby. We got 13 different winners. We got one spot left in the playoffs that someone could point their way in or win their way in. Who will be? We'll find out this Saturday night, 7 p.m. under the lights. We got 13 different winners. Michael McDowell won at Daytona. Oh, just so many months ago. Can he do it again? I don't know. Christopher Bell, he won at the Daytona Road Course. Does he have a win at the Oval in it on him? We'll see what happens. William Byron won last year's season finale before the playoffs at Daytona. Can he repeat 2 years in a row? Kyle Larson, the hot shoe, 5 wins on the season. How will he do it at Super Speedway again? Will he pull off another win? I don't know. Martin Truex Jr., he's always in the mix near the end at Daytona. Does he have a 4th win on the season in form? Ryan Blaney, 2 wins on the season. He's won at Talladega before. Can he pull it off in the final race of the regular season at Daytona? Joey Logano, my pick. Does he have the win in him for win number 2? I sure hope so. Honestly, when it comes to pointing away. And Alex Bowman's got 3 wins on the season. Brad Keselowski, he's no slouch at Daytona. Can he pull off win number 2 for the season? Kyle Busch, he's never won the 500. Will he win the summer race and get his 3rd win of the season? Chase Elliott's got 2 wins. He's won at Talladega. He's a super speedway ace too. Can he pull it off for the season finale? Daytona 500 or Coke 400 win and get those extra bonus points going into the playoffs? Kurt Busch, can he pull it off? The veteran behind the wheel. Where will he go next year? Eric Almirola, not too worried about him pulling off another win this season. Will Austin Dillon get the win and point it and get his way into the playoffs and make Eric the winner? I don't remember who Matt picked already. Will it be?
Who'd I pick? Is this payback for me not listening to you in the beginning of the
Oh
show?
my God, no! I got a mind blank.
Dennis
Hamlin.
Dennis.
Will Denny do it in Daytona? We will find out. Prime time, baby. Saturday night under the lights, 7 p.m. NBC Mothership. We're on network TV. It's the Coke Zero Sugar 400. And we'll break it all down next Monday night. For Matt, the Statman Reilly. For Eric, Daytona Ron. We're going to your track, brother. I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night.
Bump and dump and run.